to house people who live nearby. So looking at these kind of ideas of ecosystem, Nano-Lit's really thinking about, how can we put ourselves together, or how can we join in something that's more than just a well building, more than just the ecosystem that you find within an ordinary building, but actually adds value to the ecosystem outside as well. Okay, so I wanted to finish the presentation by just talking a little bit about where we see light going when we've achieved these aims. So always thinking quite far ahead to what could be possible in the future. What we imagine light to be at Nano-Lit using quantum dots is a moldable material. Okay, it can be molded and formed to use and make things, but it could also be dynamically moving material as well. And at the moment, what we're doing is taking our inspiration from flowers. Now these are, I think, go beyond that whole kind of sense of healing, wellness, but certainly also beyond healing as well, where I hope that the lighting that we create in future will also just inspire wonder. It's kind of gorgeous that I could look at it all day. So there is this kind of change that's happening now due to quantum dots, and where lighting and screen design and all of these other things, the boundaries for that are becoming really blurred. So I also just thought I'd show you this quite beautiful image by TeamLab, which you may all know about. And they're art pieces, really, but they do produce such beautiful stuff. It's worth having a look. Is it going? Yes. Yeah, so it's just a beautiful combination of projected light and also screen design. And we're not really sure where this is going in the future, but yeah, really hope to be producing stuff that inspires wonder for everybody. Okay, so that's it. I've got no idea how long it took.
I wasn't timing you, don't
worry. Oh, good. Oh, you'll need this.
That was fascinating. Thank you very, very, very much. Who knew that light was just so important? The only thing I did, my major takeaway from that was I was looking at the rhythm thingy. And I don't know whether I should be going to the gym at 9 a.m. when my testosterone levels are off the chart, or at 5 when my coordination stroke strength is at optimum levels. So I've done it both. I'd spent a year doing CrossFit at 6 a.m. and it was brutal. And I just thought, my body clock doesn't work this way. And ever since, I'm an evening person, definitely. So I gave it a try. So we now have Kirstin. We have a few sort of technical challenges to overcome. So I'm just going to try and see if I can get her online. Just one moment. I'm just going to call her. So we have got a line of communication. She's watching a live feed, you see, but there's a delay, as we discovered earlier. I think you call this car crash TV or something. Is it going to work? What? I know. Are you ready? Okay, I'm calling you on Skype now. hear me? Not if you can hear me. Give me thumbs up. Great. Because I can't hear you, but you can hear me. We're trying to increase the volume.
Testing, 1, 2, 3.
Hello! So is there a volume control actually on Skype itself? Crank it up. No? It's all good? Hello!
I am here. Raring to go.
We're trying to crank up the volume.
Okay.
It's still quite low. System preferences. Are you a Mac user? Yes. Go, Gary. Go, Gary, go.
Can you turn your camera on so I can see what you're doing?
The AV system is a maximum volume, a little bit of a hum, but you'll really be quiet. For some reason, I can't adjust the volume on stack with laptop. So we've got to on the Mac. Was it system preferences on Skype? So we're in Skype now.
Testing. Whoa. Yeah. Excellent. Okay.
Okay, maximize. Now we just need to make sure. Oh, just keep talking.
Okay. What sort of people have you got at your event? Any cool people that I need to know about? Are they all laughing?
Academics in the room.
Excellent.
I think we've got a few C-level executive types.
Excellent.
We've got a few entrepreneurs, and we've got a lot of pro-European supporters.
Yeah, well, I'm in the Remain camp, so
Oh, well, you're in good company.
I'm in very good company.
And therefore, I think that you will be a big hit with the audience. So, could I present our next speaker? This is Kirstin Hancock, and she is the founder and head of marketing, CMO, marketing director of BlueMaestro. Over to you, Kirstin.
Excellent. Hi, everyone. I can't see anything that's going on in the room, but I have been able to hear the discussions that have been going on earlier. It sounds like Lightlog is doing amazing work, and yeah, I loved the last speaker talking about the whole organic growth of how IoT can fit into the whole ecosystem of the world. So that was really amazing. So, you know, thanks very much for that. I love Edinburgh. I have to tell you all that. I am actually an immigrant. So I'm an immigrant from New Zealand. I've lived in London now for 16 years. I came over here in 2000, just after I got married. But I'm from a place in New Zealand called Dunedin. And Dunedin, I don't know if any of you have been there, raise your hands if you have, but I can't tell how many that is. Dunedin is based on Edinburgh, and one of the in the middle of Dunedin there is an octagon. The shape of the square is an octagon, and there is actually a statue of Robbie Burns in it. So right from when I was very little, I knew of Edinburgh, and obviously I've been there lots of different times. I remember the Highlands of Scotland very well, and I'm very fond of Callander, which is just up the road from where you all live. But I guess I'm here today to talk to you about what I'm doing in the wearable space. It's a really exciting space to be in. I founded BlueMaestro just over 3 years ago, and I thought so that you could get a little bit of a feel of who we are, I put a video in the chat, Simon. Are you able to play that? What's Simon doing?
He's actually at the little boys' room. It's over here. We're just going to see if we can.
I can play for my end, and then I'll just share my screen so you can see it. Okay?
Sorry, I was on Facebook. I'm kidding, I wasn't. That's a lie. What's going on?
Okay, I'm going to.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to play a video. Can you see my screen yet?
You need to.
No.
Don't worry, we'll connect it in a second.
Okay, I'm going to share my screen.
The showcase class has given us increased exposure.
I can hear you, yeah. I can hear you. Yeah.
Alright, I can play the video here now.
Okay, you play the video and then let me know when you're done. I'll just mute myself, so.
Is this all the way to the end?
Yes, please.
We've had our product on display up in the foyer of Digital Catapult in the centre of London. We've enjoyed the media contacts that we've made. We've been able to network extensively with other people in the showcase.
Can you go to the beginning? Because that's right at the end.
Drawing on the expertise of the staff of the Digital Catapult who've been invaluable.
We can come for the comedy. Comedy value alone.
BlueMaestro is into health and environmental monitoring, generally using the smartphone as an interface. We've got programmers all over the world, so Scrum meetings are very interesting. We've got a number of health products that we're working on, as well as consumer and commercial general sensing devices. How we bring IoT to life is to incorporate sensors into everyday objects. A pacifier is a good example. But it's not just providing raw data, we're trying to provide useful data.
This is Pacif-i, the world's first smart pacifier. Pacif-i records your baby's temperature, it time and date stamps it so that you have a historical record that can be shared with others. You can enter any medication that you give your child within the app so that you can see any trends in the baby's temperature when you've given them medication. You can personalise the app, you can add different profiles so you can have more than one child within the app. You can also tether Pacifier to your iOS or Android device so that if you do lose it, you can find it easily.
Our philosophy around our devices is to make them very easy to implement into broader systems. BlueMaestro has developed a range of sensors called Tempo Disc. They come in a variety of different sensor configurations. They're about the size of a 50p piece. They have a sensor and a Bluetooth chip in them, so they communicate with smartphones and can be communicated to the internet through a gateway. And they monitor different things. So they can have a temperature sensor to measure temperature, they can do humidity, they can do acceleration, so movement or something dropping, they can do light, and they can do sound. We're about to kick off a project with Transport for London where we're measuring the vibration of gearboxes on rolling stock on the London Underground. The showcase for us has given us increased exposure. We've had our product on display up in the foyer of Digital Catapult in the centre of London. We've enjoyed the media contacts that we've made. We've been able to network extensively with other people in the showcase, and we've enjoyed drawing on the expertise of the staff of the Digital Catapult who've been invaluable. IoT is heading where if something isn't connected, people are going to be surprised. A lot of the real growth in IoT will be applying sensors for very specific use cases, and that's where BlueMaestro is heading.
Okay, let me know when you've switched.
Oh, you're not a Mac person, are you?
No, oh really?
That's
Double flipping a Mac.
He's still on Macs. I actually switched back to Mac recently. I had a Google Chromebook that I just loved. It just didn't have the grunt that I needed, so I switched back to
I
Mac.
literally don't know how to flip.
I'm not crazy about the user interface. I'm not honestly crazy about it.
Tapping your flipping.
Well, hold on. So, is that not working? Okay, I see. So what I think you have to do is kind of drag it across there, like X. Is she frozen?
Yeah, I'm frozen. I'm frozen in time.
I think you just have to give it time to Skype.
Oh, here it comes. Oh, I can see you now.
Yeah, but you... Anyway, just carry on. Just chat
Okay.
away. If you've got
All right,
some
so...
slides, are you sharing slides?
Okay, I have. I will share some slides. So let me just go to share my screen. Can you see that? Okay, here it comes.
Oh, there you go.
Excellent. Okay, so you can see I'm getting terrible feedback, so I'm just turning myself down. There's my contact details if you want to contact me. I'm on Facebook, Twitter, G+, everywhere, LinkedIn. If you want to find me, you know where I am. So what we do is we quantify others, things, and spaces. And we started shipping the world's first connected pacifier, Pacif-i, in January this year. We ship all over the world now, as far as Australia, New Zealand, Asia, the States, into Europe, UAE, all over the place. It's really, really an exciting time for connected baby products. And let me just tell you a little bit about how I developed the product, Pacif-i. About 4 years ago, I was working as a deputy head teacher in a London city school. That's my background in education. I worked for about 16 years as a classroom teacher and then sort of worked my way up into managed schools, etc. And I was thinking of getting a job closer to home because I actually live in Surrey, about an hour and a half out of London. And I decided that I would get a job close to home so that it would be much easier. I wouldn't have to commute and I'd be able to get home to the other two girls quicker. And then I fell pregnant with my youngest, Olivia. And I decided that I wasn't going to keep traveling in and out because it was just a complete ball ache. It was just awful. And so I resigned from my post, fell pregnant, had Olivia, then sort of got really bored at home. And at the time, my husband was working for RBS. Yes, that Scottish bank that is based in Edinburgh. And he wasn't happy doing that. So we were sort of at this time in our lives where we were really looking for alternatives and what we were going to do and thinking about life and thinking about, really doing something compelling that we could really get our teeth into. And at the time, we'd invested in some tech startups, and I'd actually worked for a little while in the IT department in Sydney for Ernst & Young. So, tech was always in the background. And then so I started Blue Maestro, and then we started developing our sense ranges. So our tempo disc range, and we started just doing those in temperature, and then temperature and humidity, and then temperature and humidity, barometric pressure, and then a gateway. And then when Olivia was about, my youngest was, so I had 3 little ones at this stage. Olivia was about 12 months. She became very poorly, and she was sick a lot. And I had several trips to A&E with her at the local hospital because she had seizures and fits and was very, very unwell. So there was just this aha moment one day where I said to myself, bloody hell, I need a pacifier that does this. Why is there nothing on the market that does this? So I spent probably about 3 to 6 months just researching pacifiers and digital pacifiers, and then I just said, well, why can't we put Bluetooth technology into a pacifier, and then make a product so that we can record a baby's temperature? And I'd been going backwards and forwards to my GP and my doctor. Had this really absurd conversations with my GP about, what time did you take?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
It's getting worse. Your microphone is crackling.
Okay. Right. I'm going to take my external mic out.
Some fabric or something.
You're getting through.
Is this much better?
Carrie?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Great. Is this clearer?
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
All right.
it's good to go.
Excellent. So so how much of that did you hear?
All of it.
Oh, great. Okay. So you've heard the story. So I was going backwards and forwards from my GP with this scrappy little piece of paper, with all these different notes on it. And she was saying to me, well, what you really need is you need to have a record of what the effect is on any medication you give her. And so that's really how the product came about. And it took about 3 years to develop the product. We still were sort of tweaking little bits of it and playing with the apps, etc. But it's a great little wearable device that has been received well. We exhibited Pacif-i at CES in 2015 and had huge media attention all over the world, and that sort of really parachuted us off to make the product and make it the best product that we possibly could. So you probably saw from the video, we do there's a time quote said, "This gadget may change parenting forever." And I actually had a call from a mum of it's quite a sad story, really. She had twins, twins, and one of the twins died, and the other one was very poorly. And she called me the other day and said, thank you so much. This has really made a difference in knowing exactly what their little one's temperature was. So she said it has been life-changing for them. Yeah. So we make some other products, Tempo Disc, which you saw in the video a little bit about, and these have been, we're working with a university in the Netherlands that use these as a wearable to measure the body temperature of pregnant women and how that affects their state of well-being, which is quite an interesting project. But there's so many different use cases for this product that are coming out now. It's it's being used in shipping, transportation, storage, in museums, in art galleries. I even had one guy who was writing about using Tempo in storage of his pinball and his pinball machine. So that was quite an interesting use case. But there's more and more interesting use cases coming out about that product. We're also working on a medicine adherence sensor that we want to, so the idea of this sensor is that it will be a sensor that goes on pill packets and pill bottles, and you'll be able to tell when a patient has taken a medication or not. And the implications for that could be huge in knowing what drugs are administered, what drugs are taken, and then the whole map of that ecosystem. Do you want to know? Let me just stop sharing my screen. Hopefully you'll see me come up again. Can you see me?
Yeah.
Great. Do you want to know a little bit about the features of Pacif-i and what it does? Is there a nod of the head or a shake of the head or?
Yes.
Yes? Okay, so the basic premise of Pacif-i is that it is a Bluetooth product. And the data that's held on Pacif-i is shared directly to a smart device that it's paired with. So then the parents use the Pacif-i and their smart device, and the information doesn't go anywhere else apart from if the parents or the nanny or someone who's caring for the child wants to share that information. And then it can be sent via CSV or a PDF. So the information is secure in that it is paired to the smartphone. So if you were in a room with somebody who had Pacif-i, you wouldn't be able to see what the baby's temperature is. So it's not open data. It has a medicine tracker within the apps, which are iOS and Android, so that you can enter the time and date of any medication and how much medication that you give your child. So for example, if you give some ibuprofen, you can put in 5 mils, 10 mils, and then hopefully watch the trend of the temperature go down. You can also set within the apps alerts and reminders so that if you are giving your child medication, you can say, I want to give them some Calpol in 3 hours time, and then you can get an alert and a reminder to do that. And one really handy feature is that you can take the temperature of your child within the range, the Bluetooth range. Now, I don't know how much you all know about Bluetooth, but earlier this week, Bluetooth SIG released a statement to say that they were increasing the range of Bluetooth by 5-fold. So it would go from 50 meters, sorry, 4-fold, so from 50 meters line of sight to 200 meters line of sight. So that's going to greatly increase the usages of Bluetooth products. So with Pacif-i, you can take the temperature generally of your baby when they're in their room, in their cot, if they have Pacif-i and are sucking it. And you activate taking the temperature through the app. So the device sits dormant while the baby's sucking it, and then you say, hey, wake up and take the temperature, and then it does. Also, you can personalize the app, so you can put little photos and the name of your child, or put, if you've got twins or multiple children, you can put those in there also. One really great feature is that you can find the Pacif-i from the app. So children are notorious for losing pacifiers, and as our pacifier is 39 pounds, you don't want to lose it, obviously. So we've put a feature in so that you can find it and you can locate where the pacifier is. And then the pacifier beeps and hopefully you'll be able to find it. If you're out of range, then what it does is a pin drops on a map, so you can go back to that location and find Pacif-i. Yeah, the journey of developing a wearable device has been incredibly interesting. It has been physically stimulating. I mean, it's just, you know, putting it all together, working with, building a team. I don't know how many of you build wearables or make wearables or what space you're in, but in our team now, so we started with an idea, and in our team now we've got designers, app developers, people in sales and marketing, and then we've got a whole development team that we work with, and I probably missed out lots of different people in the team, but it's really great being a UK-based company that supports people doing lots of different things. We make these now in Shenzhen in China. Our first product, Tempo, we had molded and manufactured here in the UK. But we found that it's more cost effective to make these in Shenzhen in China. And then we ship out from there to wherever they're needed. But it's great sharing Pacif-i with you, and I know some of you might have some questions that you want to ask of any of the people that spoke. Just one other point, Pacif-i has been heavily tested and regulated. Lots of parents ask us, how safe is the product? I'm a parent of 3. I would never use anything that I didn't think was safe with my children. The FDA, the SARS that are emitted from Pacif-i is 1/100th of the amount of SARS that Simon is getting holding his smart device in his hand right now. So that's you, Simon. So it's a fairly certificated product. Yeah. So I hope that you enjoyed learning about my wearable. I hope that you'll, follow us on Facebook or follow us on Twitter and tell all your friends who have babies or who are about to have babies about our wearable device and how BlueMaestro is moving IoT into, into the future.
Right.
Oh, sorry.
Right, so we're going to do real quick because we don't have much time. So, Morna, Gary, put a seat up. Actually, come on stage. Yeah. Grab a seat. I'm going to sit here. I'm going to do a quick Q&A with Kirstin because I want to sort of drill down a little bit. Scoot over a little bit, Gary. So I just want to make sure that we don't get any feedback again or any sort of technical issues. Kirstin, can you hear me okay? Okay, I can't hear you now. Hold on, that's because I turned the volume down, isn't it? That might be the reason. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay.
Make the screen vertical so she can see them.
Huh?
She can see us through the camera if you take the screen.
Oh, that would be great.
See the roof, that's it.
Oh my goodness, there's people
Good
there.
thinking.
There's people there.
Yeah, don't worry, you're not speaking to an empty room. So, I'm always interested in, this sort of transition from being a software company dealing with bits and bytes and intangibles. You off, Sally?
I am.
All right. See you later. Bye. Thanks for joining us. And then, transitioning, because they say hardware is hard. It's a cliche because it's true. You've got all kinds of issues with not only manufacturing the product and getting it to market, but then, unlike code where you can just do a sort of a mass update or whatever, if you've got a bug fix, it's not a huge drama. But if you've got a product recall or something, some drama with a product that's already been distributed into thousands or millions of consumers' hands, how do you deal with those challenges in terms of defects? So, I don't know, let's start with the major challenges of manufacture. Let's go to you, Gary, first. You're quite a smallish scale at this point. At what point do you start deploying, you know, kind of at a larger scale?
So one part of the project was, as an independent maker, how many can you build by yourself? What is that limit? And I estimated.
Is that working? Can you hear? Okay, carry on, Gary.
So I estimated that, so from what I knew at that stage, there we go, wow, I could build 100 units without going completely insane by myself. If you want to scale to 1,000 or maybe 500, once you start getting into that range, you certainly need to look at manufacturing from a third party, unless you have a very simple device which doesn't need much hands-on when you build the thing. Once you go above 100, it starts getting very difficult. I mean, even 100 is difficult if you're doing a very complicated device. I spent a lot of time trying to minimize the number of components, make things as simple as possible.
So 100 per day, week, month?
Do you spend your whole day like a little sweatshop for one?
Yeah,
one-man sweatshop
so
in Edinburgh.
When I was building the very first prototypes, which were all hand-soldered, the first one I built took about 4 hours of just soldering. That's a long time, and a lot of solder, and it's not very nice. I got better, so I think it was about down to 2 hours to go from a pile of nothing to a working device with the software running on it. Once you go to surface mount components and a manufactured PCB, you're literally down to 15 to 20 minutes to go from nothing to a working device. The 3D printing for an enclosure, that takes about 40 minutes for a nice quality print of a plastic enclosure. But obviously if you're trying to scale, again, that was my factor of 100. If you do more than 100, you don't want to be 3D printing the parts unless you've got many people printing it. You might as well at that point start looking at injection molders, other manufacturing techniques for the enclosure. But if you're at about the 100 range, bespoke, customized, that was the other thing, going 3D prints. I had a lovely intention which hasn't happened but could, and that's where you have a website where someone can actually customize the case that they want for their device, and you 3D print it on demand and send it out with them. And that's something you can't offer if you're doing this huge, let's make 1 million of them. You can't offer that kind of customization. So if you can make that integral, if it's something people wear, they want to customize it, especially kids want, maybe the Batman or the Superman or special effects. You can do all kinds of things if you can customize that 3D print, but that's slow.
So, Kirstin's question for you. I mean, did you go through that sort of process of home making, or did you go direct to manufacture?
Okay, so I'm just doing. The first which was with it, which is environmental model. It has 2 plastic pieces, and then it has the battery holder, a PCB holder in the middle. So essentially it's 3 pieces. The tool for that product weighs 200 kilos. The first quote for that tool that we got was £50,000. So that's a lot of money for a startup. Obviously we didn't actually pay £50,000 because we shopped around and paid a lot less than that, but it's considerable. But even to get to that point where you're tooling, you need to have 3D models, then you need to have prototypes, and then you may be looking at a one-piece tool cavity. So if you're going to run off one product as what you do in a prototype, that will cost you maybe £20. If you're going to run off 100 products, that might cost you £10. And then if you're going to run off 1,000, that might cost you maybe £8. So the higher the volume that you can do, the lower the cost that you pay for your products, and that is for everything. You can get products in bulk, 5,000 PCBs, much cheaper than 5. I don't know how many of you manufacture in Britain, but it takes a long time to get that product exactly spot on. We were backwards and forwards with our prototype before we were happy with the final plastics we're talking about, and also then you have to make sure that all of the plastics meet, FCC guidelines, and make sure that all of your products that you're using are safe to use in the space that you're in. But we did start manufacturing here in the UK, and we use 3 different manufacturers here in the UK. The third, we still use for low volumes. If we want to make just a few of something, we manufacture here. But it's much cheaper to manufacture in bulk in China, and the quality. We use a large, well-known children's toys manufacturer. It begins with the letter V, and in Shenzhen,
Vito.
The quality that they produce for us is outstanding.
So weren't they embroiled in a scandal recently, allegedly? Well, some of their toys got hacked. Can you comment? No, okay, let's move on. So, Morna, do you think you're going to experience similar sort of issues? With, are you going to go to manufacture, or are you going to partner with lighting OEMs that already have the distribution relationships and so on and so forth?
Yeah, well, quantum dots are really only cost effective when produced in great quantities. So we've got some very large customers and distributors lined up. The kind of key difficulty with producing these lights, and the reason that we're at the stage that we're at, is that it's only now that we're seeing the display screens moving into absolute mainstream, that the suppliers can produce the quantum dots at the kind of scale that we're going to need in order to keep our distributors happy.
Excellent. Okay. Questions from the audience? How about that? We have a question. Go ahead.
Just shout out? Or?
Yeah, go on. Shout out.
Yeah.
Hopefully the mic will pick it up. Go.
Hi. I just wanted to know, wondering about IP-related issues. How did you finance that? Did you go for, filing for patents and all that? It's a very expensive process as a startup. How did you sort of address those issues?
I agree with that. I mean, I've never been through that journey, but that's the first thing. I'd be terrified if I've got the best idea for a product. How do you prevent IP leakage if you're sharing your blueprints and your designs with guys in China who could potentially rip off your ideas and go ahead and manufacture it and cut you out of the process? What have you done to address that, Kirstin?
Was that directed to me?
Yeah.
Okay, so unfortunately, we have a lawyer on our team who deals with all our IP. Otherwise, I don't know how we would have done it. You do need to protect your everything that you do to make sure that it's completely locked down. But it's really hard getting a patent for a product. It has to be significantly different from what is already on the market. And believe it or not, the first patent that we applied for Pacif-i was rejected. And then subsequent patents are pending. So it is a very complex issue, and I think you need to get some good advice. UKTI, I know that was mentioned earlier on in the evening, they give good advice about how you can go about getting your IP secured.
Okay, guys, do you have anything to add?
So for me it's a little bit difficult because I'm very focused on it being an open source project and an open hardware project. It's about getting the information out there, it's about getting ideas out there, letting other people take up your work and maybe turn it into something better or add something to it or run away screaming. It's by making it open source and open hardware, it's kind of freeing in that respect, is that you can step back from that and it's like, oh no, someone's going to steal my idea, and then it's like, oh, great, I wouldn't have to build it myself. It's, you know, if someone does that for you, and if it's the idea that you're trying to get out there, then open source is really good. If I was going to try and sell them and then make a brand around that, then you would need to do the usual things around the brand identity, and you basically add value in terms of providing a service from a trusted brand with, you know, customer care, all the things you would need if you actually need to sell to the general public a device for them to use. If they're not a maker and not a hacker, they're not interested in 3D printing, you need to sell them a nice, robust, shiny, glossy thing, which they don't have to open every now and again. You know, you avoid all that if you go the open source route, if you're into that community and trying to spread that idea.
Well, the reason we were in stealth mode for 4 years is because we've had patent pending and it takes that long. So, I mean, I've only been with the company for, 6 months, so I didn't have to go through all of that heart and mouth stuff that Sarah, our CEO, has been going through, which is a relief for me. But I think the key thing is, like, depending on where you're wanting to sell your product, these things really, really matter, and there is funding available through various different places. You know, Scottish Government offers various kind of grants towards that sort of thing, but also having a good relationship with a lawyer and having a very strong business plan helps, because there are other ways for lawyers to make money from you over a longer term. So there are ways in which you can negotiate around those kind of things. We're essentially selling IP, that's more important to us than anything else. Obviously, like manufacturing, the type of product that we're manufacturing requires very kind of specific environmental controls. So, you know, we're looking for partners who are able to do that for us, but at scale.
Do we have another question? Go ahead.
I mean, it seems to me that wearables are really only as good as the apps that support those wearables. And in terms of data, I mean, data is key, and also being able to view historical data and being able to produce trends. And it helps so much to have an application, a phone app or an app on a desktop, on a computer, to be able to see those trends and to see historical data, such as this is how much sunshine I've had in the last year or 2 years on a daily basis, or this is how often my baby has been sick in the last year.
So what's your question? How important?
Into developing the app side of things, and where did and how much focus was there on the app side?
Okay, so this is a software versus hardware question, I guess. Do you want to go ahead?
So yeah, that's probably where I got least distance in the original project proposal. I have tools on the desktop for accessing the data, analysing it, downloading it, syncing it. That works really nicely. It works very well from a researcher's point of view, because the first sort of clients that came along were people who wanted to use the data for research. So I spent a lot of time making sure the tools for downloading the data, synchronizing it with timestamps, growing the data set smoothly, so you basically just plug the device in, press a button, and it appends it to the existing data set, you know, cleanly. There's no sort of which file am I saving to, what unit have I got. Each device knows which has a unique hardware identifier, so they all save to the right structure. It's the user interface for a regular, non-technical human being to interact with the system is really the tough point. I've got quite a lot of prototypes. I've got examples running with D3, which is a JavaScript SVG rendering library.
Let's not get too technical.
Okay. So you can
One
have
kind of meetup.
you can have an app with a web view in it, My main goal was to make it cross-platform, so originally it would be iOS, and then once the iOS version was done, I would push it to Android. So you want to stick with a platform that you could share as much data as possible between those two things.
But how important is it? 50-50, 60-40
so
for you, and in terms of the amount of time resources you're putting into it?
So when I started, the original wearable had no user interface on it whatsoever. I wanted a device like a button that someone just wore. It became obvious, sort of 6 months, I suppose, into that process, that it needed some LEDs, because people were like, is it working? You know, I'm just wearing this thing, is it on? And then you needed a button to display some information back to the user. So suddenly you started to have a user interface, so holding the button, showing the bar graph. That limits the amount you urgently need a smartphone interface. And I also found that many of the people who came forward with SAD, who were interested in prototyping and testing with me, they didn't have equipment that would work. It's a very low level of technology, so yes, there was people with smartphones, but many of them, it was not Bluetooth compatible. Many of the phones they did have were just feature phones, old Nokia sets.
So what are you now at this point? 50-50, 80-20?
Well, so
so we've got limited time.
The space. Okay, so
I don't want to rush you, but I want to rush you.
The chunk of work I need to do now is on the user interface side, not on the device side.
Perfect. Sounds good. Morna?
For lighting like ours, really we had to wait until the quantum dots were at the point where they were ready for us to use. So there's an awful lot of things which are on hold. Obviously, producing at scale like this, in such vast quantities, means that one of the things we're trying to do is monetize the pipeline. So we've looked at this over like quite a long period of time and where we expect products to drop down. And that's the way that we're approaching it. So, you know, we've had a small amount of investment in the beginning, but really it's by knowing that we've got customers and that they've already signed a contract that, you know, we know when we can release stuff or who's going to be taking products at that stage. So yeah, it's really more about the lighting and quite simple controls in the early stages, and that'll become more and more sophisticated as time goes on.
Okay, I'm just going to put a real quick spin on that, Kirstin. So
Okay,
in terms of
so
hardware and software, what do you regard your corporate competence as? Would you regard, if you had to choose, a hardware first or a software first company?
Okay, the most important thing about developing a wearable is that there is a need for it in the market and that people are going to buy that product. If there isn't a need for it in the market, then don't develop it because you're not going to sell it. If you don't sell it, you're not going to even recover the cost.
And we see a lot of these novelty hardware consumer-based products on Kickstarter and Indiegogo all the time. I mean, some of them are frankly ridiculous and should not see the light of day. You know,
I see it all the time. A lot of people have got some pretty wacky ideas out there, and maybe if you've got a lot of money and you want to do that for fun, that's fine. But you know, I have put my whole life into this business now for the last 5 years. I mean, people need to make money from what they're doing, and sure, stuff out there that people are doing, the crazy stuff that does move us along, and I see that, you know, in the development.
Does it? Some of them are ridiculous, like the selfie shoe. You attach, there's like an attachment, you take a selfie with your shoe. I mean, that got crowdfunded, can you believe it? Okay, I think we're going to have to, so people, do your market research. You know, you've got to look at your total available market, what your unit cost versus your profit margin is going to be, and what realistic percentage of that market you're going to get. And do you come out with a genuine business, or is it really, you know, just a bit of fun? You know, it's kind of a lifestyle business. I think we're going to have to, time's against us, leave it there. But what I wanted to do before we wind things up is, of course, thank our wonderful speakers. And that's Gary, Morna, and Kirstin. On the website, you'll be able to see, you know, their Twitter websites and everything, profiles, so please follow them on Twitter. Thank you to our sponsors, Product Forge, guys, as always, thank you so much for doing such a great job. Almost last but not least is Dr. Timothy Willis of Flexpansion, 2C, Nautilus Beam. How many different brands do you have under your umbrella? But text input on tiny touchscreens, right? Okay, thank you so much for your continued assistance and help, and of course, Emma McLean. Thank you very much. And to Codebase for hosting the event. Thank you very much. Thank you. Right, I think they're going to lock the doors. So we need to get out of here.